Hello everyone, my name is Jordan, and I am going to be going over the patch notes for Hotfix 6. I'm going to go over the most important things that you'll need to know before getting back in there and updating your game. Hotfix 6 basically has three different sections that I would categorize the changes into. The first being quality of life, the second being rogue and bard changes, and then the last one being fighter nerfs. There's a lot of things that are going to be happening around the armor penetration and armor rating values, as well as the physical damage reduction cap being reduced. But without further ado, we'll get right into it and start talking about the changes. All right, so as you can see, I've bolded some things and italics some things, so hopefully it's a little bit easier to read for you as we go through this. We'll just start at the top. An additional character slot has been added, so you can create one of each class now. I don't know how many people out there have that many separate characters, but hey, if you want to have one of each, go for it. Currency used to unlock classes. I don't know if you caught it on the last patch, but they actually made it so that the Bard and the Warlock are free to play. They're not going to be using their premium currency to unlock characters because we obviously told them that we didn't like that, so they've listened, which is very good. The game time has been slightly increased for the normal Inferno map, as well as for the high roller maps, which I think a lot of people have been asking for, having more time to, loot, especially to get through the PvE since everything has more health. You don't want to have to feel forced as you're trying to get through the map, so I think that's a great change. Another additional blue portal has been added to the Goblin Cave maps, and the death swarming times have been modified. You will have more time in the Goblin Cave maps as well, which I think is a great change. A lot of the mining locations on the Goblin Caves maps are on the outside of the map, which means they're the first to close, which means you don't really have that much time to get your mining in before the zones close, which is kind of frustrating, especially if you're trying to get the mining done. A change that I actually really like is that pots and crates will now give you a little bit of XP. Before they didn't, now they do, and it's going to be easier to level your characters, which is excellent. Another quality of life update, silver coins now stack to 30 instead of 25. That's only important because you can trade 30 silver. If you haven't been picking up silver in the game, if you pick up 30 of them in a stack, you can trade it to the collector, I believe, or the treasurer for 10 gold. So it's essentially equal to 10 gold. It's a little bit more risky, but if you don't have anything else to put in a single slot, 10 gold per slot is a pretty good value, so I recommend picking up the silver. I do, and usually it just kind of fills in the cracks in my loot pile. Now on to the rogue changes. The rogue's double jump has been modified so that you take a little bit of a speed reduction on landing, and the maximum height that you can get to with that double jump has been slightly reduced as well, making it a little bit less strong. Some rogues have just been kind of jumping around, especially I know on the Goblin Cave maps. That's been a problem where people are just jumping across to everything. Hopefully this means it'll still be a useful skill, but it will take a little bit more practice to make sure you hit your jumps and not be as annoying for everyone else. The rogue's weak point attack now targets armor rating instead of physical damage reduction, which is interesting. I think they're really trying to hone in on how they want the armor rating versus the physical damage reduction to work. So we'll see a little bit more of the things that they're trying to do later. The rogue can no longer equip the hand crossbow. I'm not sure how I feel about this. Maybe you all can let me know down in the comments what you think. Should the rogue be able to use the hand crossbow? I think that was kind of, at least the Spud Hunter really wanted rogues to be able to have hand crossbows, to be able to have water bolts so that they can put out torches with a bolt. I still think that would be an amazing idea, especially as a super sneaky play. But I can see how a rogue having a ranged weapon may make them too useful and just kind of an all-around better choice over some of the other classes. Moving on, the Bard's Den of Darkness has been reduced, so it won't be as effective. I know some people have shared some pretty crazy clips of this getting out of hand. It's one of the songs the Bard can play, and it was very strong before. It is less strong now. And now only bards can use instruments. I'm curious if this means that the barbarians throwing the drums at people is no longer a viable strategy, because that was honestly hilarious. Granted, being thrown drums at me was very frightening and I didn't like it, but I do think that it was cool that barbarians had another playstyle. So I guess that's impossible now. We'll have to see. But it looks like maybe you won't be able to pick them up. I'm not sure how they're implementing a only bard mechanic. All right, Now on to the fighter changes. I think that I've put every single one of these changes into this category because I think that they all are in some ways providing a nerf to fighters. If you've been playing, you'll know that fighters can get a pretty ridiculous amount of physical damage reduction, which makes them very, very, very tanky. And combined with the sprint ability, they are fast and tanky and they can heal. They're basically just like an unstoppable one-man army in some ways. Obviously, if you're not good at it and if you're not playing well, then you can still die. But they've been pretty strong this past bit. Basically, all of these changes are going to be to try and rein them in a little bit. All right, let's go over the fighter nerfs. The first one, armor rating curve has been modified and slightly flattened at the very high range. This is going to mean that once you get to a really high armor rating, it's not going to give you as much physical damage reduction as the first bit of armor rating has given you. Obviously, they're saying it's slightly flattened at the very high range, so maybe we shouldn't notice too much craziness, but I think it goes hand in hand with the next one, which is the physical damage reduction hard caps at 85%. Now, I think with all the other changes, it's going to be hard to reach 85%, and maybe that's like a end game legendary gear or epic gear type of situation where you have that much damage reduction. But normally, I don't think fighters should be at an 85% damage reduction because it's crazy and it's super hard to kill them. The fighter's taunt ability damage reduction has been reduced from 15 to 10. The barricade gives 50% or 50 armor rating instead of plus 15 physical damage reduction. So it's a slight nerf because it's putting the bonus into armor rating and not just the physical damage reduction percentage going up, because that I think snowballs a little bit more once you get a lot of base physical reduction, and then the percentage, it all kind of adds up and makes you super tanky. They've also significantly reduced the values for physical damage reduction that appear on random attributes on items. So if you find gear in the map, it's not going to have as high, it's significantly lower levels of physical damage reduction. If you've seen or watched any streams where people have been ranting about the physical damage reduction numbers being too high for fighters, that's because it was relatively easy to stack up a large percentage of physical damage reduction, while armor penetration, on the other hand, was relatively difficult to get. And even, really good rings or the necklaces, they only gave you like 1 or 2% armor penetration. So it was just nowhere even close. So hopefully this should rein that in a bit. The falchion has its damage slightly reduced. I think that's good. The falchion was just kind of the best short sword to use beforehand, so it's going to be a little bit less. Maybe more people will be using, short swords, rapiers, Viking sword, all those other options may be a little bit more tempting now. And then we get into a bunch of things that have increased their armor penetration. The penetrating shot ability for the ranger, 25% more armor pen. The windless crossbow now has armor penetration. The regular crossbow has armor penetration. The hand crossbow has a little bit of armor penetration. The mace, the morning star have 15%, the warmaul has 30. So all of this armor penetration actually kind of makes sense from a realistic perspective, because when people were using plate armor in medieval times, things like crossbows were able to penetrate that plate armor. And so having armor penetration on a crossbow actually makes a lot of sense. Anything that had a pointy thing really did well against plate armor, because plate armor was mainly trying to protect you against these, long, sword attacks that were, a long object trying to go against your armor. So I think that's kind of cool. That's a little nerdy note for you, but and then another thing that I've put into the fighter nerf category is that the magic staff and the explosive bottle and the oil lanterns are going to do magical damage now. The reason why that's super great is because if you're throwing bottles, explosive bottles, Molotovs or whatever, at the fighters, they're actually going to take magical damage, so their physical damage won't actually affect them, which gives you another option to try and counteract the just heavy armor that they're wearing. They've also reduced the base projectile damage reduction value for plate armor. Again, makes sense. And then as well, another one, the Shrine of Protection buff that you have to pray to the shrine for, has been reduced to 15% from 30. So all in all, there's a bunch of changes that have reduced either the strength of the physical damage reduction, changed to armor rating, or given you more tools to have armor penetration, and given us some more magical damage options. I think the magic staff being magical damage is quite cool. because the magic staff has just kind of felt butts to me. So hopefully that'll make it better. I'm really curious what you all think of these changes. Feel free to drop a comment below letting me know what you think, or which changes you're most excited about versus which changes you think they maybe shouldn't have made. I'd like to know. And then one last thing, the first early access wipe. So there will be wipes in Dark and Darker. If you didn't realize this, now you know. They will be wiping people's inventories. All items, gold, and skills will be reset. However, triumph levels will not be reset this time, and they will only be reset at the start of official seasons. I'm assuming that's after release of the game. But August 27th, next Monday, if you're watching this after August 27th, it's already happened. Yeah, so next Monday, there will be a wipe. You will lose all your gear and stuff, so use it while you can. Don't give in to gear fear. Just get out there, play the game. You got this. I'm sure a lot of us feel like we're bad at this game. I feel like I'm bad at this game. Every time I start feeling good and confident about the game, I swear the game just humbles me and I lose all my shit. So yeah, anyways, I hope you all enjoyed the patch notes. Hopefully it was helpful to you. If it was, I'm trying to make some really good content on here. And if you want to help support that, if you like to watch the content, I'm posting a Ranger playthrough right now. So if you've missed my live streams where I'm doing that, I am live over on Twitch. Link in the description if you want to catch me live. But yeah, if not, hope you have a good rest of the wipe. And then good luck on Monday. And I'll see you all out there in the dungeons. And if you are one of those big crazy Chad people that is going for the high roller dungeons, a new leaderboard will start after the wipe, but they're gonna wait a little bit, make sure things have stabilized. Obviously they might do a hotfix or something like that as well. Take care, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.